in Europe, there was this idea that if we're collaborating, if we're cooperating economically, a little bit what liberals would say, then everybody's security is ultimately assured, everybody's gaining the benefits of that, and nobody's going to question the borders of other countries. That was more or less the conviction. And as a result of that conviction, Europe really had this idea that there was even the saying, that we don't achieve security against Russia, we only achieve security with Russia. That's how people were putting it before the invasion of Ukraine. Now that saying has been inversed. Nowadays, people are not saying that anymore at all. Nowadays, they're saying you cannot achieve security with Russia, you can only achieve security without Russia. That is basically the understanding, what the German Chancellor Scholz termed the so-called Zeitenwende, the kind of changing of times, the changing of an era. That's roughly translated what that means. Basically, what that means is that belief that by collaborating, we're going to ensure mutual security for every actor. That belief is now gone. And that is now pushed towards a belief that you cannot trust Russia. Russia is an inherently aggressive actor that will violate the borders, that will invade their neighbors. And because of that, they will go much more towards increasing defense spending, towards, in a sense, deterring Russia from its action. So the mood basically is gone from the post-Cold War belief that we're dealing with a common security, mutual security, that now this is over and the belief has been replaced by, in a sense, a more pre-Cold War order, if you like. It's not quite a Cold War, because in fact there is an actual war going on, so it's quite hot. But the belief is a little bit similar to what it was before the end of the Cold War.
Hello, Professor. My name is Muhammad Mateen, and I am lecturer at Department of International Relations, UMT Sialkot. And first of all, I would like to thank you for such an insightful lecture. Definitely, it would have enlightened the vision about the security concepts, about the transforming conceptions in the 21st century of our students. So I have two questions, and I also like to have your comment about the contributions of our student in this seminar. I would like to have your comment if you have time, and if you have also time to answer my question. My first question is about it's a bit generic. We can say that as you have also mentioned that the state system has evolved, and the concepts of security has also evolved with the evolution of this nation state system. So this evolution has actually resulted in the emergence of certain differences in the in terms of power. Some are very powerful states, while others are very you can say developing countries. So the concept of security and the securitization is we can say it can be different for those developing and those powerful states. So how would you see that, as you said, that the concept is actually the security concept is as what your construct is has developed that concept for you. And you can say that how those developing states construct is affecting their concept, while at the same time the powerful states view the concept of security in some different way.
Mhm.
And my second question is about the Quad and the transforming international order, how it will affect. It is a bit general question, how it will affect the concept of securitization. As you have earlier mentioned about the Ukraine conflict and the revival of the Cold War settings in that context. So first of all, I would like your comment about the our students' contribution, and then answer my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Firstly, let me thank all the students for their wonderful contribution. I think this was really very, very enlightening to have this debate, and I'm pretty sure that you will go out there in the world and you'll be hopefully making a positive difference, that you'll be reducing insecurity in the world, and you'll be helping to make the world a much more peaceful place. So I very much am convinced that this is the case. So I thank you very much for all of your contribution. Now, in terms of the two questions, so the first one in terms of power and how that matters, I think it's very clear, and you're absolutely right there. Of course, power matters, right? It is a very different perception when you are, let's say, the global superpower and you have the best weapons in the world. Then, of course, your perception of what a security threat is and how you're going to deal with that is a different one than if you're a small and medium range power. Perhaps most of the weapons, you don't own them. You can't really defend yourself in various ways. So, of course, the way you see security threats is different. The way you can handle and deal with security threats is different. And I think you're right to point out that, in a sense, the power dimension is something that needs to be included in the theory, because, of course, without the power dimension, what are we discussing? So I think you're absolutely right to point that out. When it comes to the Quad, I think it's very, very clear that we're entering a new phase in terms of global politics. I think we already saw the beginnings of the more conflictual relationship between the United States and China in particular, already under previous President Donald Trump. The surprising thing is we've seen that continuing with current US President Biden. We see that increasingly the world is starting to divide itself. We're not quite there yet in terms of the global picture, not what I said in terms of Russia and Europe. We're not quite there yet globally. But what we can see is that developments are going in that direction. And of course, the Quad is developing that is also going in that direction. It is a development to, if you like, ensure that from a US perspective, ensure that the Chinese are not taking over Asia. It is to ensure that Western interests are still maintained in Asia. And from the Chinese perspective, it's clearly a threat to China's self-perception as the predominant power in Asia. So it's very clear that this is an expression also of a growing duopolarity, multipolarity. People are seeing that in different ways, but certainly there's an element of bipolarity re-emerging in the world. Whether you say it's only bi or whether in fact it's also tri or multipolarity is another question, but we're certainly going in that direction. The Quads is an expression of that development. So thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to be there with you, and I enjoyed myself so much, and I'm so honored to have been there with you. So thank you very much for all of those wonderful questions and for having listened to me, and I hope we can do this again.
Christian, it's an honor